I think what we'll do, which might make sense, is I'll kind of roll through the presentation fairly quickly in an explanatory way so you kind of get the presentation. And then we could back up a little bit and talk about some of the new material because it's going to take some explanation since some of this stuff none of you have seen before. So obviously we have our new logo overlooking the ocean as an opening page. We go right into a couple key concepts, which is aggressive marketing and experience representation. We're going to talk about brand strategy, high impact sales materials that we create for luxury homes, global marketing campaign, power of technology, all of which equals maximum exposure for your home. Experienced representation, first and foremost, we're relationship builders and not salespeople. That's how we view ourselves. That's our mindset. We hope sets us apart from most real estate agents. Trust is a major thing. Trust is a major thing in our relationship. We're always looking out for the relationship first, the transaction second. We have very experienced negotiators on our team. Myself and my partner are experienced negotiators, which we can talk about in detail. And at the end, we like to treat clients like friends and family because we want to build our business on referrals over time, and you cannot do that unless we do fantastic work for you. So that's kind of a real quick overview of our company. We want to talk right away about what's going on in today's real estate market and where are the buyers. And any of these statistics we get out of all of our associations and studies and research papers indicate that at least 90%, if not higher, buyers started their home search online. It makes nothing but sense. You're sitting here with smartphones, iPads, laptops, etc. You can see umpteen sites to search for homes, and obviously you can use our site now for that same purpose. In terms of the perspective of discovery, where did buyers first learn about the home they purchased? 42%, give or take, first learned about the home they purchased on the internet. So keep in mind, over 90% start their search online, and almost half of that number actually saw the home first online that they ended up buying. The other 34% was with the real estate agent. So it shows you that the combination of technology and great agents consumes 76% of this process. And then it really drops down. Yard signs, friends or relatives, home builders, directly from seller, 1% print ad. This is really amazing. 1% print ad. 20 years ago, it was all print and agents. It's just flip-flop. These numbers at the bottom, 76% of that 90% drove by and viewed a home they saw online first. 62% walked in one of those homes. And 32% of buyers found the agent that they used to buy the home online. So it just keeps reinforcing how technology has become an instrumental tool that we as agents have to master and helps us give great service to our clients. So what did we do as a company? We built what we think is a fantastic search application for listings, most notably appealing to buyers. We have complete data feeds, just like the MLSs, from Ventura County to Orange County, from the ocean into the desert, comprising hundreds of thousands of homes into our own search engine at thrive.us. And the idea, the intention of this development, which is unique to our company, is a pure search experience for the buyers, particularly, without ads, clutter, etc. So they can see great pictures of homes on a map and quickly see everything that they could possibly be interested in. So as we sit here and talk about listing your home, we're already aggressively seeking buyers for your home with an extremely powerful tool that rivals Trulia, Zillow, and the MLSs. And in some cases, we think the search experience is even better than all of those for your buyers. Who we are. My partner is Scott. And we can talk about him. He was a developer, investor, and broker of our company. You can go on a little bit of information. My bio's online. And here's where you would put your information, or you can flip them. The stronger you get in your listing presentation and your presentation in this section, the more you can reduce me or eliminate me. So you can use me as your partner, as in the Scott Brokers presentation, as much as you want, or eliminate it. Why is this important to you? 3 things: experienced deal makers, we're problem solvers, and the inspection can cost you thousands. Similar slide from our last presentation. So I'm going to back up for a second. So when you're talking to your home sellers about who we are, particularly as you explain me as your partner, if you're a younger agent, kind of want to ride on my background, something might cross their mind. Well, so what? So what? Scott built these commercial centers years ago and did specs and all that. You need to answer the question, why is that relevant for you sitting in front of me now selling my home? And that's why this slide is important, because we are experienced deal makers, we're great problem solvers, and the inspection, which is really real estate, physical issues of real estate related, we have particular expertise on, and we can help you in that regard. So you pay that off, because they're always filtering, is this going to get me more money for my house? What's this have to do with me, right? This is your testimonial slide. Experience representation means happy clients, and you would add in your testimonials here. Our work. So we have a few slides of some great photography from our listings in the past. Love that kitchen. So then you would start to add in, as you get more listings and more inventory, you could mix it in with what's in the presentation and your own. So over time, you're gonna add to this section. Shauna, you could put a couple great shots of Latuna Canyon, etc. So each of these sections is meant to start building your foundation in your own presentation, but this thing is going to work pretty well just as it is once you just fill in your own information. Why a boutique? This replaces the Scott Broker slide of why did you know we're independent contractors. So you can explain this in a very similar way, but I think it's even more powerful that we kind of convert the same information into the answer, why hire a boutique like Thrive versus RE/MAX or Coldwell Banker, choose your big box brokerage firm, and the answer is the same because they limit our ability to market aggressively. If you compare our domain, thrive.us, and our front-end search engine with any of these, just you can see the difference. Most of these are just hammering the buyer how great Coldwell Banker is, or this or that, or RE/MAX is, where ours is pure search experience. So we think that is the way to aggressively market for buyers in the internet for your home. We're in the background. The search experience is in front. The big box brokerage firms flip that. That's why they're not great lead generators, for one thing. Performance guarantee. I don't know if you know this, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but I'm one of the few agents that puts my money where my mouth is. And if I don't perform within 59 days, I will lower my commission for you. How does that sound? And then they might say, how does this work? And you would go on with the explanation. And for those of you who are new, there's an addendum in your listing presentation folder that has the actual terms of the performance guarantee. As I've stated before, you can have a listing presentation with and without a performance guarantee. Why would you want that? Well, if I've got a great referral, and I already know I've got this listing cold, you can eliminate this. You don't need to put some of your commission at risk. If you're not sure you're getting the listing, I would put this in there, and as long as you can explain it elegantly. Listing versus brand marketing, it's a carryover from the Scott Brokers presentation. I think it's important that you really promote that we are doing the mindset of advertisers, what a brand means. seen this before. And then if you want, you could replace a Marlboro Man with your own ad. Some people don't like the fact that there's cigarettes in here. The reason this is, it's the most successful advertising campaign in the history of advertising. I just reread David Ogilvy's book, he was one of the guys Mad Men was based on. He's like the father of Madison Avenue advertising campaigns in the 60s and 70s, and his book references this campaign in a huge way, the Marlboro campaign, because it really personifies connecting a product with what somebody wants to become. You want to become a cowboy. It's like an American dream for young men.
The Carl's Jr. commercial?
What do they do?
It's a model eating a burger.
Oh, yeah, I want to be this fashion model.
One of those things in her life.
Yeah, but the concept's very, very similar. So you could replace this if you want. I know some people put in something with Pepsi and others. So as long as you're saying the same thing. And then we answer the same question like we did earlier in the presentation. How does this apply to the client? So how does this apply to my home? We're going to create a unique selling proposition for your home that drives the campaign. And so you as an agent, it's important, if you roll into a house for the first time, you've never seen it, one of the first things you're going to want to start thinking about is how am I going to create a campaign or a spin about this house from an advertising and marketing standpoint that differentiate it from other homes. You don't have to have all those answers in the presentation, but what's a client often say in this slide? Okay, so what's your idea for my home? We need to correct this, so this N sits over here, so it's a little glitch. We just need to widen that and correct that, which we will. But you should have an idea. We use two examples in the presentation. Let me come back to this in a second. The dream campaign for a luxury home, this was a 7,000 footer on White Cloud Circle. We did some photoshopping to create a dreamy looking campaign for a dream home. And this was Jim's listing, actually a little condo on the beach where we're selling the beach lifestyle. So we've got a starter home at what was this, 400,000 or 500,000?
470.
So, a starter home in our price brackets on the beach. So we, did a campaign selling the beach lifestyle. That's what we're selling. We're not selling real estate. In this case, we're selling the concept of the dream home, not selling real estate. So this helps you really differentiate yourself from most agents, because people understand, oh, you're starting to think like an ad man or an ad woman, madman. This is branding, etc. So this is a new slide, creative process. So what you can do with your client here is quickly walk them through how we do things differently. Here's our creative process. There's the discovery, the creative process. We define target buyers and discover their emotional desires and wants. Then once we do that, who is the target buyer for this property? Is it a first-time home buyer? Is it a surgeon that's moving up to their dream home that they're going to have their kids live till they go to college, or something in between? Who are the target buyers? Once we determine that, we have those target buyers in mind, we move on to defining the brand. And defining the brand is define what we are selling, which is never a house. Key concept. It's not the house, it's the lifestyle, it's the dream home, it's quiet, it's peace and quiet, it's resort backyard, etc. Resort style living. Then from that point, we can do the imagery, video, copywriting, and graphics, because now we know what we're creating in the mind of the consumer. Then we go on to produce our sales collateral, website, video tour, print, digital, mobile, email, broadcast, etc. So, creative process. Define the buyers. Start putting together the collateral materials, producing the content, and then we get into rolling out a campaign globally, web, print, magazine ads, international ads, syndication, social media, hyperlocal thrive sites, email marketing, networking, and signage. Yes, magazine ads and international magazine ads. That's new. So those are three concepts of branding. You can create your own and keep adding to this. I think it's an important section. Then we move on to staging. We move staging up in the presentation Because now if we know what the brand is, the marketing message, the unique selling proposition of this home, we know how to stage it. We know what kind of image we're creating. So at this point, we may come back with you, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and want to do some fine tuning on the staging of the house that matches the image we're trying to convey. Some slides of nice staging. At this point, we know what the brand is. We know what the marketing message, so now we're going to start putting together our content. And it starts with HDR, high dynamic range imaging. And this is where you explain to your seller client, this is not high definition. Everything's high definition. This is high dynamic range imaging. For those of you that don't know much about this, do some homework. Get a page or two out of a search engine that explains this so you really have at least a rudimentary knowledge what high dynamic range imaging is. Does anybody need me to overview it right now? Everybody good on this so far? Okay. So here's an example of a merged photograph that was bracketed. So you take it from this to this. That's high dynamic, what we call HDR, or high dynamic range imaging. So our campaign starts with fantastic architectural level photography. Then we go out and create a video campaign. We're going to create a website and a movie about the house. Premium website with aerial animation. We're going to zoom in to the top of your house. We're going to have a YouTube video. We're going to create a mobile app video and an iPad and tablet campaign. So now that we're starting to roll this campaign out, we're hitting all media. And of course, it lists some things we're doing here. Custom domain that we choose for the house, Google Earth animation, mobile website, iPhone, BlackBerry, iPad. BlackBerry we might want to eliminate. They were just on the news today. They're getting tanked. QR code, YouTube video, etc. Then we start to put together a print campaign with some high-end brochures, which could be 2 pages, 4 pages, 6 pages, depending on the scope of the property. This is just an example of a very large luxury home layout. We're going to create Facebook ads, including a video page on Facebook, targeting thousands of users. Using sophisticated demographic targeting, the listing will reach thousands of local and high-wealth buyers and investors on Facebook, engaging with high-profile paid ad placement, beautiful HD video, etc. across social networks. We're going to create an email broadcast piece in HTML that will go out to probably 10,000 real estate agents in the area.
Do we already have a template for that?
Yes.
I love
There it is.
that. Do I have to build it myself?
No.
Okay, good.
We're also going to go hyper-local with the listing that no one else really does. As you know, we build city sites, consumer resource sites, and of course you would customize this page based on what Thrive site you're a part of, etc. But this is the Thrive area site for West LA we're expanding on. Most likely, this will probably become Thrive Los Angeles for the area site, probably Thrive San Fernando Valley, Thrive Ventura County and Thrive Orange County. So we'll probably even expand the area sites that will be kind of overlooking the unique city sites. So for those of you that are new, I encourage you to join a Thrive site, start blogging, developing that content. In the training, we talked about how that can really help you network with business people, but it's also part of your listing presentation, that you're going to also put them as a featured property on your site, on that local community site. As Thrive, the new website, and our social media marketing expands, that will drive traffic to these city sites. So the city sites will start to pick up as we pick up because they're linked back and forth. So we're going to feature your house. So the concept here is a hyperlocal campaign that's unique to our Thrive team. We're going to advertise your home in the Wall Street Journal, and it's going to look like this.
How much does that cost?
For you, Miss Yates, I pay for your entire marketing campaign, because Mr. and Mrs. Yates, you're going to be my VIP client. Commission's 5%. No extra charge. No extra charge. We're going to advertise your home, Miss Yates, in the New York Times and their International Herald Tribune division, which goes all over the earth. This is what your ad is going to look like in the New York Times.
Online?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the Robb Report, Miss Yates? People love, particularly in LA, that love expensive cars and buy islands and boats. This is a magazine of exceptional properties, exceptional toys. It's all over the place. We're going to put an ad in the Robb Report for you. Jet Set magazine, it's distributed to 50% of the world's wealthiest people across the planet. We're going to throw an ad in there too. We're going to syndicate your listing all over the world. Zillow, Yahoo Real Estate, Proxio, eBay, HomeGame, etc. Trulia is up there. So lots and lots of sites that are real estate related. We're going to syndicate your listing out all over the world in many foreign languages. We're going to run a series of international ads, and these are our network partners. 30 prominent real estate search sites around the world, including China, Russia, Canada, Germany, France, Brazil, Singapore, United Arab Emirates, and more. Why are we doing this, Ms. Yates? Because LA is a cosmopolitan area. We did multiple deals to Chinese buyers with cash. There's an influx of particularly Russian money, Asian money into LA real estate. So we're going to go out to them and advertise your property to them to get you more buyers, more competition, top dollar. We're going to use Google's international network and run ads on that as well, placing dozens of high-profile ads on dozens of high-profile media sites. And here's a list of those. The Japan Times, for example, Bloomberg, BBC, British Broadcasting. So I want to talk to you about pricing, but before we do, I just want to make sure, let me go back to this slide one more time. Is there anything we need to talk about with our massive marketing campaign we're about to unleash for your home? Okay, this is a moment of truth. This separates marketing from pricing, as I've coached before. Because what you want to do here is nail marketing. You want to make sure in their eyes, they think they're wowed. This marketing presentation is the best I've seen. This guy knows how to market luxury real estate like no one else. Boom, nail it. So you want to stay here because they may have questions. Well, when will the ads go up and whatever. So you want to really get this nailed because we're moving to a very different mindset here in a moment. Now that I've established myself as the marketing expert with my clients, I'm talking about what I need. And Ms. Yates, I think you'll agree that pricing dramatically affects showings. That makes sense, doesn't it? And pricing your home competitively will generate the most activity and avoid having to drop the price later. This is just common sense. Wouldn't you agree? Excuse me for all the information on this slide, but it's really important. I want to step you through it. This is a concept we all want to avoid, which is what we call chasing the buyer down. I just want to explain how this works in the real world so we don't have to get into this place. So here's the beginning of time. We start marketing the house, goes on the market day one. But in this case, this seller went out with an initial list price that was really above market value that all the comps indicated that house should sell for, fair market value. And that's a empirical number. That's just data. And we'll talk about what the comps are here in a second. But in this example, they went way above that. So we move through time, buyers start seeing the listing, agents start seeing the listing, market interest starts to peak. It's a new listing, it looks good, but oh, it's overpriced. So their interest starts to wane, time is going on, the house doesn't sell because this is the buyer, this is the house price, that gap means no sale. So what happens through time, sellers getting disappointed, I gotta drop the price. It's obvious now from the market feedback, we are overpriced, I've gotta drop the price, and you start chasing the buyer along this timeline, chasing the buyer down. And what happens is with this stepping effect of pricing, it's getting stale, the buyer's interest wanes, and eventually you get a sale way out here that ends up below market value because you've scared all the buyers away. This happens a lot in the real world, and we want to avoid that. Does that make sense, Ms. Yates? So you could spend a little bit more time than I did because I know you guys understand this concept, but it's important you educate them that this is the reality of overpriced real estate. And in a shifted market, meaning when actual values are slipping, like in 2008 and 9, it gets even more dramatic. So this example, the market's stable, prices are just stable through the listing period. This is where they actually start to dip. It just makes things worse. And of course, condition plays into this as well. The poorer the condition, the better the price has to be to sell it. That just makes sense. So let's take a look at the comps, and this is where you turn to your seller and work there at the table and put together, you know, Elm Street, here's 1201 Sarah Street, etc. Here's on the market, here's what's sold, here's average prices per square foot, etc. Now we get into the data. And this is just a case where you're explaining to the sellers what is sold, do they know that house, here's the real numbers, and you're going to pick 3 or 4 comps ideally that are the closest you can, most relevant. And once you'll go through that, then you turn to Mr. and Mrs. Yates and say, based on what we know about the perils of overpricing, and we've seen what these houses actually sold for, what do you think you'd like to list your home for? So what have I done? And before that question, there's 3 things that have happened. I've nailed myself as the marketing expert, 1. 2, I've educated them on the perils of overpricing that actually could cost them money. 3, we've looked at the data, the hard data. And then I've asked them the question about what they want to list for. On the phone, Scott, you're the expert. What do you think my house is going to sell for? We'll talk about that when we meet. We sit down at the listing presentation. Now you've seen the house, Scott. What do you think it's worth? What do you think it's going to sell for? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I'm going to segue until this moment of truth. Marketing expert, perils of overpricing, data. Then you throw it at them. First one to talk loses. This is your best shot of getting a realistic price on your listing. When those 3 things precede you forcing the client to come up with a price. Now they may say, I don't care, I want $1.1 million, right? You hear that, we've all heard that, right? But we've now rocked their boat a little bit. It puts you in a better position to negotiate or at least set up a price reduction possibly after 30, 45 days. Make sense? New slide, feedback system. Now that we've concluded the price and we're going to get your home in the market, Mr. and Mrs. Yates, I want you to know that I have a terrific system of communicating with you, a feedback system. We obtain feedback for all showings. Each showing is tagged by a number. It's entered into my showing log. We provide feedback to you at least once a week on every showing. So we're on the same page on a regular basis, so you'll know exactly how the market is reacting to your home. Almost invariably in every CAR survey, including 2013, the #1 complaint on sellers against listing agents was poor communication skills, not price, which just is amazing. You would think, I needed more money for my house, that's number two. But invariably, it's poor communication skills, because agents do not have this systematized, like in training 11, in our main training, that you do this in an Excel spreadsheet, and every Friday you call them, buyer 13 saw the house on Tuesday, buyer 14 saw the house on Wednesday, here's what they thought, etc. They know you were on it. I can't tell you how many times I've had sellers, even in tough markets, say, I've never had an agent that communicates like this. This is so helpful to us because we know exactly what's happening, right? And that's how you partner with your seller, even in a troubled listing that's having a price problem. It helps you get a price reduction. So right in your listing presentation, I want you to describe your system, because a high percentage of sellers are worried about listing agents disappearing on them, which so often happens. And we know Mr. and Mrs. Yates hiring the right agent versus the wrong agent. It's more dollars in your pocket are lost, time saved or wasted, smoother transaction, or stress and frustration. And here's the steps we need to get going today. Now start to move to the paperwork. Questions? Let's go to your question. How much does all this cost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
And who does all the video editing?
right. So those of you that have been here a while are seeing completely new slides and concepts. I'm going to step you through some of these. There are 2 or 3 companies now that do luxury home marketing as outsourced contractors. This is done by a firm called Lux VT. They were in here the other day. In fact, their representative is about to join us as an agent, but that's another issue. So I'll give you the pricing, but essentially the way Lux VT works is they're geared towards luxury campaigns, and you pay them at close. So depending on your size of your listing, they'll set you up with these slides like they did with me for between $95 and $150. So then you could build your listing presentation like I've just done here. And then for the clients that you list, then you add the listing into this campaign. So what I did is I had them pre-build this campaign. But you're going to have a standard high-end Lux VT accentuated listing campaign. They'll need the photographs of a listing to build these slides out. And then if I list 123 Elm Street, then I'll commission them to do all this work. So they'll do the video site, the YouTube channel, Facebook advertising, email broadcast, including the template, Wall Street Journal advertising, the New York Times advertising, the Robb Report, Jet Set magazine. That is point 2. We already have that going. International ads and Google International Network. So basically, here's the price list. If you go in your online resource center, in the marketing folder, you'll see a folder now entitled Lux VT. This little price sheet is in here. But basically, for listings under $600,000, the setup fee is $95, $600 paid at close. For listings above $600,000, $95, $1,000 paid at close. Unless you close it in 60 days, it's $400. But you only pay them if it closes. So essentially, when you think about this a little bit, this is similar to a performance guarantee, right? If you don't list the house, it doesn't cost you anything. If you list the house and it doesn't close, it expires, you don't pay anyway. You do pay the setup fee to get into the system and to produce the collateral material. right? But then you've got a fantastic listing presentation you can use over and over and over again. So I love this idea because there's no way we can reproduce this. They're doing this on a scale. And to me, it makes the presentation jump out. But let me compare the difference to what most agents have. Is there's a system in the MLSs, not all MLSs, but most of them, that use, you've probably seen emails coming from the board that say, participate in a Point 2 seminar. Anybody seen Point 2 invitations? Okay. Well, Point 2 is a service that takes the MLS listings and uses a piece of software from Proxio and syndicates them out. So just the fact that you put your listing on Claw, Conejo, Chrisnet, wherever, you're probably getting some syndication because of the MLS. But that's good, and that's what this is. But it's not any of this other stuff. So there is some crossover between what you get already with Point 2 and natural syndication and what LuxVT does. So you could build a presentation and extract Lux. You could have a presentation with Lux in it to go full guns. You can have a presentation with your performance guarantee and without. So you want to adapt to your market. If you're going after, $2 million, $1.5 million, $2 million, $3 million home, I'd throw this in there because it's making me look good. And it's a key of, okay, so I got to pay Lux. Let's say I have to pay him $1,000 at closing. Yeah, and I just made $60,000 on the listing. Who cares? If you get the listing. So to me, it's a no-brainer. But obviously there's a cost associated with it. Our rep, what I didn't do is put in our rep really sucked. Golfer. Yeah, he's working part-time for him. And Bill is, I've known Billy for a while. He's a professional golfer. But he's our rep. So if you contact LuxVT to get, they'll email you this. You can download this right now in the Online Resource Center as a PDF. They have a $400 quick close bonus discount. Or I guess it takes it from $1,000 to $600 on your luxury listings. But at a minimum, I suggest for the user going after luxury homes, pay them their $95 or whatever it is, so you can get them to build you a listing presentation like you've seen here and then inject it into yours. Does that make sense?
We can use the one you've shown us.
Well, it has my name on it, right? When you want your name on it, you got to get...
How long does the whole thing take to get,
blasted out there?
Yeah.
They told me, I think it was a couple of weeks.
Sure, a lot has to do when you get them photographs and everything too.
The ads will run for 12 months. So, it's pretty interesting. There's a couple other competitors we're looking at as well that do similar things. But this one so far that I've seen is the most impressive. Just a couple other comments here real quick. We'll wrap the videotaping. So this listing presentation, my concept was to shorten it from the last one and make it much more powerful and compact. But it's still 50. I thought it was going to be, it felt to me like 25 slides. It's 50 some. So to me it feels small, but it's obviously still a very big, robust presentation with the action list at the end. So that concludes the new Thrive listing presentation videotaping for today.